The White House revealing President Trump has been diagnosed with a condition called chronic venous insufficiency. The news comes after the president and some observers noticed swelling of his ankles and some bruising on his right hand he appeared to try to cover up with makeup. I want to bring in CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. So, Sanjay, what is this condition?
So chronic venous insufficiency, a relatively common condition, something that gets more common as you get older, involves a problem with the veins. That's the venous part of that. So arteries carry blood away from the heart. Veins take blood back to the heart. If the veins aren't working properly, if they're not doing their job, blood can sort of start to pool. And that was probably causing that swelling that you just showed in that picture there. Again, a fairly common condition. I will say a couple of interesting things. He had a physical exam back in April, and so 3 months ago or so, and they made no mention of it at that time. So either it wasn't there or they didn't talk about it. It does appear that this problem has either started or worsened over the last 3 months. And I think that's what sort of prompted the exam that he had, Anderson. They looked at his blood to see if there's any problems that made him more likely to develop blood clots. They said it was fine. They looked for blood clots themselves because sometimes blood clots can block the veins. That does not seem to be the case. They looked at his heart to see that his heart was functioning properly, pumping blood adequately, because if it's not doing that, that can also lead to swelling. And that's, I think, ultimately how they landed on this diagnosis of chronic venous insufficiency.
What kind of treatment is the president looking at?
Yeah, so, if there's no blood clots or anything like that to treat medically, then you're really thinking of sort of mechanical things. So if you imagine swelling that's occurring in the legs, the lower legs, typically getting worse because of gravity, just raising the legs at night, for example. So sleeping on a couple of pillows underneath your ankles and your feet, that can be helpful. Wearing things like compression socks, that can be helpful. Being as active as possible. When people are active, walking and moving, that tends to create more circulation of the blood through the veins as well. So sometimes the problem just gets worse and it needs to be treated in other ways. But for the beginning stages, at least, that's the best sort of approach.
The memo from the White House also goes into the cause of the bruising on the president's hand that he's been trying to cover.
Yeah, right. He's been trying to cover up. We've seen the makeup on his hand, covering up these bruises. And, we've noticed this for some time. First of all, Anderson, I think going back to February, even with a visit that he had at that point, we saw some pictures of bruising on his hand. The White House doctors commented on this, and they said this is irritation and sort of minor trauma to the hand. They say probably as a result of lots of handshaking on top of the fact that he's taking aspirin as an anticoagulant. So, Anderson, I'll tell you that does track. People who are on blood thinners or some sort of blood thinner like this and have repeated sort of trauma to the hand or just even handshakes can cause that sort of bruising. So that's what they concluded after examining him, and it sort of fits.
All right, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
My medical source tonight is Dr. Megan Ranney, emergency physician and dean at the Yale School of Public Health. And it's so great to have you here, doctor, because one, I think a lot of people want to know, what is chronic venous insufficiency? And two, what does this diagnosis mean for the president?
Thanks, Caitlin. It's a joy to join you. So chronic venous insufficiency is something that's actually pretty common. Somewhere between 10 and 30% of elderly adults have it. Basically, what it means is that your veins have valves that keep the blood from backflowing. In chronic venous insufficiency, those valves stop working, and so the blood pools down in your lower legs, causing swelling. There are various levels of it. In the most mild level, it can cause varicose veins or a little bit of swelling. As it gets worse, it can cause skin changes, infections, and even chronic venous ulcers. We see it a lot in the emergency department and in primary care practices. It's not in and of itself concerning, although you, of course, want to make sure that those symptoms of swelling aren't caused by more dangerous conditions. And you want to treat it so that you don't end up with those negative effects like infection or ulcers, which can make you not able to walk and then cause all kinds of other downstream health problems.
Well, when you look at the president's last annual physical that was done at Walter Reed 3 months ago, and on April 11th of this year, we heard from the president's physician after that. And one part that he praised actually was Trump's cardiac health. He wrote that his blood flow to his extremities is unimpaired. Does that mean that something has changed in those 3 months?
It most likely means that something has changed. Now, when he says the blood flow to his legs is unimpaired, I interpret that to mean both arterial and venous circulation. Maybe he was just referring to arterial circulation or the functioning of the heart, the pumping that creates a pulse and gets blood flowing to your legs. Maybe he wasn't referring to venous outflow or bringing that blood back to your heart. Is it also possible that we weren't fully transparent at that point? Maybe. I think this is one of the things about social media. We see pictures, just like we did with that Coldplay concert yesterday. Things don't go unnoticed. I'm glad that the president's health was taken seriously and that they investigated for more serious causes, which sound like they were ruled out.
President Trump has always proclaimed himself to be a near perfect physical specimen.
Dr. Ronnie Jackson, he's a doctor. He's an admiral. Where's Ronnie Jackson? He said, I'm the healthiest man ever to be president by far. Said if I wouldn't eat junk food, I'd live 200 years. Where is he? He's the greatest. We love you, Ronnie.
So when the White House announced the president is suffering from a disease called chronic venous insufficiency, it was something of a first, an actual admission of any human frailty. That is a circulatory condition where the veins in the legs have difficulty returning blood to the heart. It's relatively common, particularly in people over the age of 70. And it can cause ankle swelling in its early stages, something the cameras picked up when recently zeroing in on the president. The group chat joins us one last time today. Welcome back, everyone. Noel, look, there is kind of a striking, they've never admitted any sort of health complications or problems really at all. Obviously, you don't wish ill health on anybody, but what do you make of this disclosure?
Well, I'm glad it came. I mean, I think that President Trump is up against what we're all up against, right? Getting older is really difficult, and this is a condition that is associated with age, right? I think the bigger story ultimately is a sense in this country that we're electing a lot of leaders who are pretty advanced in age, and I think we see increasing calls. Maybe we should get some younger people into office. But, I wish the president well. Aging is difficult, and it's hard on all of us, truly.
Yeah. Lulu, were you surprised to see this admission, or did you think that they would do this? Something like this?
I mean, I think it's good, right? We need to know the president's health. Equally, I think it's important because he's the leader of this country for us to know what condition he's in. And obviously, I wish him well, and I hope that it is indeed not as serious as his doctors are saying. But, there is a pattern here of the president's health being hidden. I mean, in the first administration, we found out later that he almost died of COVID-19. That was not disclosed at the time. And so I think there should be more transparency about all presidents' healths, the previous president, Biden, and this one too.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, that's been a push and pull for a long time, is kind of how much disclosure, how open to be, and different presidents have obviously done it differently.
Well, certainly, and as Jake Tapper has reported in his book, I mean, certainly things were not done well in Joe Biden's administration. And so I think that's why you see, I hear a theme of transparency throughout the show this morning, and that's, I think, why Caroline Leavitt decided to come forward with the letter and the information yesterday. And there has been a decision made by this White House to make sure that they are telling the American people about the president's health. Now, Jessica, as you pointed out, this is a common condition. I think over 150,000 Americans are diagnosed with this every year. So my prayers are with the president. I hope that he will be able to get the treatment that he needs and overcome this.